these amazing music abilities, which of course never happened. Most of the guys that have studied this stuff way more than I have agreed that he went and found Charlie Patton, who was the really predates Robert Johnson, was an amazing guitar player, and studied under Charlie Patton for about a year, and came back to Hazelhurst, Mississippi, and sure enough, he was much better than the rest of these guys, simply because he had played for the best, and the guy that really developed the style. Son House had was kind of torn. He was an ordained preacher. He was a Baptist preacher, and was really torn playing this, what people called back then this devil's music, and it really bothered him internally, and sent a lot of his music, the songs that he wrote. The stories people always talk about, he would play in these old shotgun houses and barns and just whatever the case may be on Saturday night, and everybody having a good time and get drunk and pass out. And when that would happen, he'd stay there and wake up. It may be 5 or 6, it may be 50 or 100 people still there. And when the sun broke over the horizon, he'd preach a sermon. He'd preach a sermon right there Sunday morning to the folks with the hangover. So he was a unique character. He had unlike a lot of these guys, had a very long life. Was born in 1902 and died in 1988. And was a huge influence on Howlin' Wolf and Muddy Waters and all those guys. He was Howlin' Wolf would always say that Son House was the reason that he played guitar and sang, and even kind of modeled his voice after Son House is a good bit. So this first one we'll do of his is called Death Letter Blues, and it's I don't know if it's a true story or not. Just talking about how he got a letter that his wife had died, so he was running home to take care of that. I got a letter this morning, how you reckon it read? To her, gal, you love us dead. I got a letter this morning. You bringing it in? You say hurry, yeah, you love us dead. Well, I grabbed up my suitcase, took on down the road. When I got there, she was laying on a cooling board. Grabbed my suitcase and took off down the road. Lord, when I got there, laying on a cooling board. Well, I walked up close, looked down in her face. She was a good old gal, laid to the judgment day. I walked up close, looked down in her face. Lord, she was a good old gal, laid to judgment day. Love for women in my life, my mother, sister, dead gal, and my wife. Lord, I only love for women in my life. My mother, sister, dead gal, and my wife. I got a letter this morning, how you ringing it red? Say hurry, yeah, you love us dead. I got a letter this morning. How you ready, red? You say, hurry, yeah, you love us dead. It had a real bad day that day. Let's switch here again.
Is it water or a gas?
Water.
I'm gonna throw it in.
I didn't get dog.
No, I won't be at that.
That never happens. I hope everybody just saw it. She opened it for me. Was that camera
He's
covered?
working
Was
cheap
that
tonight.
Yeah, I've got plenty of witnesses here, you know.
Yeah.
I'll wait on him hand and foot all the time. I don't know what he's talking about.
So he's used to that now.
Yeah, right.
Last guy I'm going to talk about is probably my favorite as far as the stories about him. He got connected to myself here. He had a big influence across the board, not just rock and roll, but the folk movement was really around this guy. Country music. His name was Hootie Ledbetter, and went by the name Leadbelly. And they gave him that just, I think from the last name, they say he could drink any whiskey anybody could make. He could drink it and it wouldn't hurt him any. He was convicted in 1915 of carrying a pistol and got incarcerated, escaped from the chain gang, was later imprisoned in 1918 for he killed one of his relatives. I don't know if it was an uncle or a cousin or what the case was. It was a fight over a woman. It was self-defense, but still got sent to prison in Sugar Land, Texas. And if any of y'all know the song Midnight Special that Clearwater Revival made famous, Leadbelly wrote this song in the Sugar Land State Penitentiary in Texas, so that's where that came from. But just how the way people love his music, the governor used to bring his guest to the prison on Sundays to hear Leadbelly play. And over the course of a couple of years, I think he was sentenced for 35 years and he did 7. The governor pardoned him just because he loved his music so much. So being able to sing got him out of prison. 1930, he was sent to prison again for stabbing a man, again over a woman, and was sent to Angola State Penitentiary in Louisiana, and was discovered there by the Lomaxes, who did a lot of this stuff you see out in the exhibit from the Smithsonian there with the Library of Congress, and discovered a lot of these old blues musicians. And again, kind of appealed to the governor and wrote a song for Governor Allen that actually helped him get reelected. And somehow 3 years later he was pardoned again and released from prison. So he got that one time when he pardoned him for singing, and this time helped him get reelected. So that sure enough got him out. But he had a long career. He recorded on up into the 60s. But y'all will know both of these songs that I do. Everybody has had a hit with a Leadbelly song. It seems like just some of the people, and I had to make a list because I couldn't remember all of it. This still isn't the entire list, but some of the people that have recorded some of his songs: the Beach Boys, Peter, Paul and Mary, Clearwater Revival, ABBA of all people, Harry Belafonte, the Rolling Stones, Tom Jones, Van Morrison, Led Zeppelin, the White Stripes, Johnny Cash, the Doors, Meatloaf, Old Crow Medicine Show, Eric Clapton, the Animals. Actually, the Animals version of House of the Rising Sun was adapted directly from Leadbelly's version of that song. And Nirvana, the alternative band, did one of the songs. That's actually what I'm going to do. And Mr. Jim, I know you're going to know this song by another name called